So I decided to go ahead and get the rebuild kit for the warm-up valve on this Porsche 924 Turbo and rebuild that part myself. I watched a couple videos, doesn't look that hard. Um, I don't think I'm going to document the whole process because there's actually several really good YouTube videos showing that process, but I think I'll just do like the highlights of rebuilding that part. So let's take a look at what we got. Of course, there's the warm-up valve, and the turbo version is different than the normally aspirated. And I got this part from, get in focus here. Not wanting to focus. Anyway, Ruben, it's missing parts in Germany. So when I watched another video on YouTube regarding this rebuild, I got that, and it wasn't too bad. I think it was like 45 bucks with the shipping and everything. So let's take a look and see if it is in fact the right part, because initial observation is that gasket seems a little small. Let me kind of stretch that out and take a look at that. Okay. That might work. Yeah, it follows a channel between the two halves, so I think this might be the right kit. I hope so. I'm going to take it apart and find out. The hell with it. Well, that is a surprise. This thing is really clean. For as long as this car sat, according to who I bought it from, that's surprising. Now once I got it running, I did run quite a bit of Techron through it, so that might have cleaned this up. But wow, that's amazing. I don't know. I'm going to kind of poke around here. There's a little diaphragm that comes with this kit. And the video I watched was for normally aspirated. So yeah, like I said, the turbo version is a little more complex. I'm almost hesitant to start digging around in here. I think I will do a continuity check. Let's see one odd thing right here. Let me point that out. Seems very strange that terminal end, it almost looks like that contact. That's odd. Well, continuity check will tell the story, but it seems like that contact should be under that crimp, one would think. Let me get out the multimeter and give it a test. Okay, so yeah, it's got continuity on the terminal, so that's telling me that that's a bi-electric piece of metal there, so when it warms up, it should expand and bend, and when it does so, it looks like on this, it's doing two things. One, it's changing the flow here. That's where the fuel is going in and out, right? So, and I'm pretty sure that's where this diaphragm comes into play. And then this has a vacuum assist. So that's that port there. And when that metal tab expands, it's going to affect that diaphragm inside of there. And I believe there's another diaphragm inside of here. And when I pressed on that, it loosened up, but it was a little crunchy just a minute ago. But I don't think I have the parts to work on that. Also, you'll note that that diaphragm has got almost like rivets on it, right? With no way to access. Unless that whole thing pops out, which I'm not going to do that. However, this diaphragm, and I'm pretty sure this is the part that is similar to the normally aspirated, you got screws, so you can replace the diaphragm. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this apart here. And take a look at that diaphragm. Another thing I tried blowing air into this orifice and pressing on this affect the diaphragm. Should get a little airflow, I would think, or maybe not. Maybe the vacuum is just helping. That's what it is. You won't get any airflow. I suspect if you put enough vacuum on this, you would actually see this move. I might do that. I've got a vacuum pump. But I don't know that I can change that out anyway. I didn't get the parts for it. So, might spray a little brake cleaner in there, make sure it's nice and clean, but it appears to be moving okay. But I am going to dig down in here and at least take a look at the diaphragm that's under there. So I remove that nut, that bolt, and then this has got an adjustment. I'm not going to monkey with that. And it presses. Anyway, that exposes that cap on the diaphragm. I'm beginning to think that fuel does not actually flow through here, that it's basically just a passage underneath here. So let me open that up and take a look. Okay, well, one of those screws was really tough. I had to put some penetrating PB blaster on there and heat it with a heat gun to get it to break loose. But here's the diaphragm. That's the underside. You see there's a little bit of material on there. What is interesting, though, is that there's a couple little orifices there. They're tiny. They're pretty darn small. There's an O-ring in there. I think the kit includes the replacement O-ring. And so all this is kind of held up top here, right? That's the screw holes. Then I don't know if this next layer comes out or not. I'm give it a little wiggle. See if it comes out, exposing the chamber, because there's a couple of screens in here. I tried to clean them up, but when I cleaned those screens, there was a lot of debris in there. So if that next piece comes out, it may expose the chamber, and maybe it's got more debris in it. So yeah, I was putting brake cleaner in these two ports, and the one without the screen, the brake cleaner would flow through it readily. However, the one with the screen, it was getting zero flow. So I started just using compressed air with a fine nozzle and blowing into that. There's a chamber in there. This piece does not come out as far as I can tell. So I didn't want to pry too hard on it. I guess it's just a press fit in this housing. But, you know, after a half dozen times of pushing brake cleaner through it, now it flows pretty well. You know, you can put enough to fill that up, and then it'll go down. And you can see it dripping underneath here. So I think the chamber was just clogged. I don't have an ultrasonic cleaner, so I might clean it a couple more times and then put this thing back together. I mean, I don't know what else to do with it. And then I did put some PB Blaster on this diaphragm, and it seems like it moves a little better. So a little lubricant won't hurt that. And I'll clean that up because you probably don't want penetrating oil inside of this device. But yeah, I'll clean that up and put it back together, you know, with the new parts, new drive frames, new seals, and call it done. So yeah, I think I did not get the correct kit. However, I got it back together, and I think opening it up and cleaning up those orifices really well, that was probably keeping it from working properly. I discovered that fuel does not actually flow in the interior. All it does is come into this little bitty chamber in here, and I think this side with the screen is the input, that's the output. There's a diaphragm there that is electrically actuated, right, by the bimetal strip, and is assisted by vacuum, which affects another diaphragm down here. So I came up with some extra parts. These screws would not fit because they're not long enough for, so it's a different part. I got a couple wavy washers left over, and then these are the parts that were replaced. Basically the diaphragm screws, which definitely needed replacement, and then the nuts that actually hold the case together, and the diaphragm itself, and the seal that goes under the diaphragm. So, you know, I think it's like it's at least $300 to have one of these rebuilt. So versus a $45 kit, I'll do that all day long. Hope this helped somebody along the way.